Hey, it's Stefan from Empire, and I'm really excited to share with you guys the newest top shaft control for the EM-PRO machine, and we're going to show you everything there is to know about it. Okay, so this is the new EM-PRO top shaft control, which is a servo-driven machine. There are a number of reasons why this machine now has a servo top shaft. So compared to things like your air cylinders or your hydraulic cylinders, the servo is extremely reliable. Additionally, it's really quiet. There's almost no sound that comes out of this top shaft control, whereas some hydraulic sounds are really loud in the shop. It's also extremely strong. There's tons of torque, and now the machine only requires 110 volt power to the machine instead of having power and an air line for the air over hydraulic system. So with this top shaft control, there's a couple of new things you'll notice about the machine. We're gonna go ahead and power it on here. The first thing that happens when you turn on the machine, the servo does calibrate itself and figure out where its position is. So if you stopped a job and the shaft was down and you turn it back on, it's going to calibrate where that, so it knows the position. The servo top shaft is extremely accurate, and it allows us to have more control over the top shaft in general, as well as some speed. So we're going to get into that part and the functionality of that first, but let's just walk around the machine here. So your standard foot pedal is the same with a 2-position foot pedal, forward, reverse. And we also have now a 3-button handheld pendant. And this handheld pendant here is for controlling the top shaft up and down. And this blue button here, this is new. This is where we now can set the depth stop of the top shaft with a button that programs a teach function into the depth stop position of the top shaft. So we'll program that as well here in a second. Then coming around to this side here, the new electrical box, we've got a number of different controls on here. So one additional control now is we have this top shaft speed. So let's go ahead and start doing some operation with this machine, and I'll show you how some of these things work. So here we go. Now we're going to turn on the machine. Primarily, I like to run the machine with the handheld pendant. There's a couple of different controls on the electrical box here that you want to be aware of. So every time you turn it on, like I mentioned before, the top shaft control, the top shaft itself will go to it's got to go to do a homing cycle in order to make sure it knows where it is. And on this box here, we've got a couple of controls. The first one, actually you'll see up here, this light, this is your teach button. This is for when this turns on. It's because I press this button on the handheld pendant, that sets your depth stop. If I want to clear that and set a new depth stop, I just hold the button down. Next we have the top shaft speed. That's for the top shaft itself. I can turn up or down the speed of the top shaft in the up or down position. So depending on your preference on how you want to operate, it's a little bit fine tuning there. Then we also have roll speed. That's the same as before, where you can set for the foot pedal speed of the rolls. Roll direction, forward and reverse. When you have these two switches here, you got pendant mode and 2-position foot pedal mode. When you're in handheld pendant mode, that's how you use this handheld pendant to control the top shaft. If we switch over to, in this position here, forward reverse foot pedal is somewhat irrelevant when you're in pendant mode. If I go and use this foot pedal, I can go and turn the rolls forwards and reverse when you're in pendant mode. If I switch over to 2-position foot pedal, now the right pedal, it does nothing, and the left pedal is the pedal that controls both top shaft position as well as the rolls. And that's why we have a switch to switch between forward and reverse. So you've got that, make sure that switch is either set to forward position or to reverse. If you're right-handed, typically the forward position. Now if I'm turning those rolls, I use the second stage of the foot pedal. It's 2 stages. First stage is turning. Second stage, I press down, we'll bring the rolls together. And we'll bring the rolls, and I can form my part with the 2-stage foot pedal. When I take my foot off the pedal, the roll shaft's open. Now, why would I use the 2-stage foot pedal versus the handheld pendant? Well, I may want to have, my hands a little bit more free, or I may have a larger part that I'm using the pipe support stand or something like that, where I'm trying to balance something. Some guys like to operate that way with the foot pedal. It takes a little bit of sensitivity and finesse to be able to hold that position of the rolls turning and bring the shaft down. Because if you lift it up, like I said, it's going to open, and generally you're going to have to restart or make a new part. Now, let's talk about the teach function. So with the servo top shaft, we now control the position electronically. So the position of the top shaft is set by this teach function in the control. So this blue button here, what I want to do is I want to switch this over to pendant mode. And this would be to, now this doesn't matter, but my top shaft speed, this is where this comes into play. If I've got it set to full speed, I don't have as much control. If I click the button once, it moves a little bit of a further distance than I might like. I can turn that top shaft speed quite a bit lower, and now the speed of the rolls is much more fine-tuned. This is where I can set a final position fairly easily. So if I know that I want to have those rolls come together, but I just want them to touch, I don't want them to clamp down too much harder than that to form my part, I can set that position. Now I press on the blue teach function and this light turns on. Now I have set my depth stop, and those rolls aren't going to come any closer together. They're going to stop at that position that I set. If I would like to change the position of the shafts for my final finishing forming position, I can either bring it up and set a new teach position just by pressing it one more time. Now it's set and it's not going to go any lower than that. I can go further up, but then I can come down and it'll stop. If I would like to go deeper and I have a teach set, I need to reset. By holding down the blue button on the pendant, the light will turn off, and now I've cleared that depth stop, and I can bring the shafts lower together, closer together, and I can set a new teach. So let's set this up to run a part now. I've got my machine with the standard 3/8 bead rolls, the standard back gauge. We have other options and other rolls. If you want to check out our other videos, there'll be a playlist above me. You can check out those and see what else is available. But this is how a machine comes stock from us when you order it. There are 2 locking handles here, and we can adjust the back gauge position. If I want my bead a little bit closer to the edge of the part, that's how you can set those and lock those down. Additionally, we got to set whether we want to run this in pendant mode or in foot pedal mode. So for me, I like to run in pendant. So I've got that set to pendant on the bottom there. That one doesn't matter because I'm running the forward and reverse foot pedal in this mode. And I'm going to turn my roll speed down fairly low because I want to set my final position when I run this part. My top shaft speed, I've got it set to the center. Right now, that's probably good to start. Now, when forming beads, typically, you might want to run right to the bottom of the roll set. So now I'm going to set my teach function and turn on the blue light. So let's open these up and we're going to run this part. Bring them rolls together with the pendant, and we're going to start running. Press the pendant down button. It's going to go down a little further. Press it again, a little deeper. And that's looking pretty good to me. If I go a little bit further down, that's to now the teach position that I set. Now that's fairly deep. Now I decide, my profile, I want it to be not quite as deep. So I'm going to turn my shaft speed down just to very small so that I can bring it up just a little bit. And that's going to be probably better for my second part. I'm going to now reset my teach. Now this is going to be my new final position, and let's run it again and see what happens. I'm going to bring my shaft speed back up again because I want to run it a little quicker. So now I bring it back together and let's start. So now we'll do a couple of revolutions. Typically you do 1 revolution and then bring the shafts together. Now I've reached my depth stop. Now you can see this bead is a lot deeper than this one was. I like the look of this one for my application. I'm going to leave that as my teach function. So that's how you can reset the teach or recalibrate it by bringing it up and just pressing it again. This one created a bit of a flare on the outside of the part. This one stayed nice and flat. So that's going to be my new bead position. So now that we ran it in handheld pendant mode, we're going to switch it over to 2-position foot pedal by flipping this switch down here. We're going to run it in the forward position. That's going to get the rolls turning, pulling the part away from me. If I had it the other way around, it would be pulling the part towards me. So depending on how you want to operate and which side of the machine you're going to be on. So I'm also going to just remove my back gauge here, push it in just to form a new bead. So now I don't need the handheld pendant. I've already got my teach position set because I made this other bead before. And I'm going to run this part by bringing the rolls together with my foot pedal So the first stage of the pedal is the rolls turning, and the second stage is bringing them together. Now, there you can see I accidentally lifted my foot up off the pedal. The rolls are automatically going to open. So you got to keep it down on that part of the second stage of the pedal in order to keep it going down. So now I'm just using my foot, turning the rolls, pressing it down a little further to go a little deeper until I reach my depth stop. And now I can operate it. So now I'm operating this with a single hand, just the foot pedal. I don't have the handheld pendant in order to control the top shaft. So one thing that often gets asked about is what helps with safety on this machine. Whether I'm in 2-position foot pedal or handheld pendant mode, and I've decided I want to have these rolls and I'm running apart, I'm turning the tooling. We have a process stop that if I hit this red button here, the rolls will stop turning, the machine will open up. That way, if anything gets trapped in there, at least the rolls are opening. So that's key. You got to pull this back out to reset the machine, and then you're back to operating again. So that's the safety thing over there. The last thing is maintenance. These machines are extremely simple. They're fairly low maintenance. There's a couple of grease points. A lot of them are labeled, and you'll get to know your machine over time, but there's a couple for each of the sets of shafts. There's also one for the servo top shaft. There's a bearing inside there that we got to grease. It's on the back of the machine there. Other than that, the maintenance is pretty low. I mean, there's not a lot going on. These are extremely reliable now that we have no air, no hydraulic leaks or oil, no air cylinders that the bladders can change over time and leak. And you don't have to deal with those things. So super simple that way. In the event where you may have some sort of failure with the servo machine, it could happen. Anything can happen with these types of machines. We still send the hand crank top shaft along with every machine. So in theory, you could still unbolt the whole servo top shaft unit, thread this into the top of the machine, and be able to operate it that way. It's very simple. It's also fairly easy to upgrade if you do have this machine and you want to get the new HMI control. We'll have a video about that as well coming out soon. You can check that out, but you can basically mount the HMI control for this machine, plug it in, and you're going to be good to go, being able to semi-automatically control programs and run these parts. So that's pretty much everything there is to know about our new servo machine. If you have any questions, check out our website, give us a call, or check out our other YouTube videos. Thanks for watching.